So when we talk about impact of risk management of corporate strategy, we're looking at three areas. How does it impact on human resource? How does it impact on finance? And how does it impact on supply chain management? These are all key areas in corporate strategy. We all know what a risk is. The probability that something will happen and the impact of that happening. That's why we have to embrace risk management. We need to have risk management cultures, risk management policies, and communicate all these to our stakeholders, all these to our supply chain partners, our players. We need to ask ourselves, what is our risk appetite as an organization? Is it high or low? The risk appetite will determine whether you take risks or not. When we say risk appetite, what do we mean? The propensity of someone to take a risk, the urge that someone has to take a risk. But risk appetite is determined by so many things. Appetite, let's look at how you eat food. Do you enjoy eating a lot of food, or do you prefer taking little food? That's the same thing here. Do you enjoy taking a risk, or you don't enjoy taking risks, or you fear risks? Someone with a low risk appetite will be referred to as someone who is risk averse, who fears risks. Now, this appetite is determined by so many things. By your experience, once bitten, twice shy. You fear taking risks because you were once bitten. It may be determined by your age. If you're young and energetic, you may feel that you can take risks whenever you want to. It may be determined by the culture. What is your culture and tradition? How have you been brought up? In some organizations, you'll find, in some cultures, you will find that maybe the female sex has been brought up to be submissive and all that, so they fear taking risks, unlike the male sex, whereby they promote them taking risks. That's why you see that in the Karamojong culture, it is the men who go to hunt and to raid, not the women. Now, the men in the Karamojong culture have been brought up to be risk takers because they know to get wealth, you have to go and raid. Now, these all determine your risk appetite, which is going to vary depending from being averse, where you have a low risk appetite, very high, where you are very hungry. Now, risk appetite is going to be determined by the conditions and the business environment within which you are living. At times, for example, if you're developing innovative products in your supply chain, then you have to have a high risk appetite. You have to be innovative. What am I talking about? You need to learn to differentiate between two types of products in a supply chain: functional products and innovative products. Can someone tell us what they think functional products are and what innovative products are? The floor is yours, guys. Try and differentiate between functional and innovative products in the supply chain.
Functional products.
Yes?
Okay, according to me, functional products are products that are there for a specific reason.
Yes?
Hello?
Yes,
Functional
go
products
on.
are there for a specific reason. Functional products are there for a specific reason, and the innovative products, okay, they can be used by any other firm at any time.
Anyone else want to educate us? Anyone else? Is Benjamin there?
Sir.
Benjamin, what do you think?
This is not Benjamin. This is Tinker.
Yes, please.
Functional is functional products are defined as a system or component, whereas non-functional requires performance attribute of a software system.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 examples. If you go to Alan Gulping and you have maybe malaria or an infection, what are they going to do? How are they going to administer medicine? Either using a syringe or that drip. Now, those products are made
Yes.
to serve a particular purpose, a certain function. Okay, a syringe is supposed to inject you. A fork is supposed to eat food. A knife is supposed to. What about your smartphone? What does your smartphone do?
It has multiple functions.
Multiple functions. And actually, now for you guys who are phone freaks, you will find that you even know so many things that some of people like me do not know. And that is why new phones keep coming up every time, because a phone is an innovative product. That's why they invest lots in research and development to try and keep improving the phone. Because to be competitive with such a product, you have to be innovative. That means you need to be able to take risks every day. That's why they'll tell you now with the Ultra Samsung S and the Note 20, you can even go swimming underwater, take a photograph, a selfie when you're underwater. Now, what I'm saying is that when you're producing such products which are innovative, you may find that your risk appetite has got to be high if you're going to stay competitive. And yet, if you produce something like a fork, let's look at the fork in the last 20, 30 years. Has the fork really changed much? The table knife, the spoon we used to eat, the one we use for chai,
No.
they haven't changed much because these are simple functional products. Even the socks we wear, just because maybe colors have changed, things like that, but really they haven't changed much because they perform just a certain function. But then look at things like running shoes for athletes today. I think you saw when this gentleman broke the record. The shoe he used there, the Kenyan guy, was specially made. If those of you who watch soccer, they will tell you that Ronaldo's boots, they make them in a certain way, or Messi's boots, all because they want to become competitive. And this is what we're saying. When you're making such products at times, you may find you need to go out to take more risks in research and development, in innovation. And that's why we say risks differ the way you handle them, depending on where you are, what organization you are in. Okay? But of course, to take risks is going to be determined by the strategy of the organization and the risk policy. You are doing fieldwork right now. Okay? There is no way they're going to tell you that Tinker, go and open the bids, because there's a policy regarding opening of bids. Yes, they will tell you, you sit there and watch the receiving process. You may receive them, but opening is a different story. There is no way they're going to tell you, a student of DPLM, to go and evaluate bids. There's no way they're going to tell you to be involved in the development of those documents because of confidentiality issues. And these are the risk policies of the organizations we're talking about. Depending on where you are in a public sector or a private sector, these risk policies differ. Okay? A risk policy is supposed to direct you, fit into that organization, to tell you who is responsible for ABCD, so that you're not surprised. If you're working at UCU in the stores, what expertise do you have to receive goods? Recently, I think UCU received some equipment, medical equipment. Now, does every procurement person have the specialty to receive medical equipment? And there are people who are
No.
in better position to know the specifications. I hope you know what I'm talking about when I say specifications. For example, medicines. The person who specifies, the user department actually, ought to be the person to receive the goods because they know the specifications that they set out. Me and you are not in position to carry out quality tests. And all these are set out, laid out in the risk policy. Issuing in the stores. You as a person who is doing your internship, whether in the local government or at UCU, do you have authority to issue? What risks are there when a diploma student of UCU starts issuing? Photocopying paper, pens. Everyone will come there. First of all, we know that we are all on internship. There is that fear factor. You as a person on internship, you're trying to adapt to the new environment. Someone may come in and bully you and say, I want a ream of paper, 2 reams of paper, a box of pens. Is he taking it to the department? No, he's taking it home for his children who are going back to school. That's a loss on the organization. And if he's going out of UCU and he's asked to account for the paper, he will say, no, the student gave it to me during internship. Won't you be in trouble? And that's why there's a policy on issuing. Not everyone does the issuing. So all organizations ought to have policies. Now, let's look at how does risk impact on the corporate, on the human resources. When we say human resource, what do you understand? When we say human
This
resource,
is the part of
when we
a.
say human resource, yes, please.
This is the part of
Yes,
a.
please.
This is a part of an organization that recruits employees. Yeah.
Yeah, now good. Thank you very much. What risks come with recruitment of new people? When you're recruiting new people coming into the organization, they have finished their diploma at UCU. Have I given a proper job description to the people who are coming in? That I want someone who's going to do this activity. How do I match my requirements of the job description with the person coming in?
Depending on their qualifications.
How do I know their qualifications? Because you'll tell me these are your qualifications, okay? Now, you guys are going to the field after this semester. And someone is going to ask you, okay, we asked for someone for this job and this and this. Tell me, what can you do, you as a person? What will you answer? What can you do? Because here, I am trying to look at how you fit within my organization. I'll ask you, what can you do? What will you answer? Are you going to tell me I can do everything?
No.
So what will you answer?
You describe your qualifications depending on what
When they
the
ask
job
you
description is.
what you can do, please don't go into your qualifications. You are at an interview, already they have your CV in front of them. They know what your qualifications are. Okay? Do not ever talk about your qualifications when they ask you what can you do. What can you do? Because I want to know that I'm not taking a risk employing you. Now, for me, a person who has taught you, who's teaching you risk management, who's going to teach you sustainability and all that, I think that just studying these two papers alone gives you an edge that you can use to be competitive. So why don't you tell your people there that, no, if they ask you, what can you do? I can help this organization to try and manage supplier risks, because you're looking for someone in procurement. I'm in procurement, but one thing I do know is that suppliers pose very many risks to organizations. So I would want this organization to come up with a risk management strategy to try and help their supply, to improve their supply chain. Or I think this organization needs to embrace things, something like sustainability. I'm very sure that the very few people in this organization know about sustainability, but I coming in want to bring in something new, in that we can see procurement from a different angle. Don't you think someone who is recruiting will look at you and say, hey, I think this person has something, is adding of value to this organization if he comes on board? I hope you know that recruitment today is determined by attitude, not your CV, not your grades. You may have 5 point something GPA score, but it is your attitude which is going to get you the job. People are not looking for the grades now. Anyone can manufacture grades. I hope you know there are so many institutions right now. Makerere Business Institute, MBI, here them advertising. There's Indeje, there's Nkumba, there is Kansanga, there is Sudil, so many. So, if you're looking at human resources, what risks come with human resources? I bring in Benjamin as my new employee. He comes in green. I spend time developing him, teaching him new skills, giving him competences. And after 8 months, he says he's leaving. What have you done to manage risks of such issues? Because it means, are you going to be training people every 8 months and they keep leaving? Improving their capabilities for other people to come and snatch them? And he's into procurement. He has improved your stores very well, or your procurement section. But why has he improved? Because you have been sending him for continuous professional development, those CPD courses by IPPU every month. You've taken him on visits to National Medical Stores. He has seen how they do things there. All because of your resources. And now he is He has all the certificates. Because when you attend the CPD, they don't give the certificate to UCU, they give it to the person, the individual. And the person is living. In your stores, what risk management strategies have you put in for disciplinary actions? If you have observed at UCU, when you're getting out of the gate and entering, they do a thorough check. Do you know why they do that? They're looking at the risk of pilferage. I hope we all know what pilferage is. Theft in the warehouses, theft in the university. I use a mouse on my laptop. How sure are you when I'm going out that the mouse I am using is not UCU's property, that I didn't snatch it from there? Or the cable for my laptop. Succession planning. How do you plan for succession? We have this challenge. People, when they're in two positions, they think they are there until death. If they tell you the day you're on a job, you should start planning for the day you leave that job. Linda is my procurement manager. Today is Monday. She has not appeared to work. Reason? She fell off a boda yesterday. She's admitted in Mulago. What happens? The procurement department cannot continue because Linda, one person, is in Mulago. She holds the key to everything. Who has the password for her computer? Only her. Who has the keys to the department? Her. Have you thought of life after Linda in that department? How have you empowered other staff members? Ensure continuity. Can you please go away, please, guys? Which brings me again to staff welfare. We have been talking about pilferage, theft at work. But one of the reasons why this happens is because of poor welfare, poor pay. Same story here. I've always argued this case that you have security companies and you have people keeping circles and banks, guarding with lots of money being protected. And the people who are protecting these lots of money are earning peanuts. How sure are you that they won't get in the robbery of that money? So I just want to show you how risk management is related to the human resource function. Now, if all these we're talking about here are not addressed, how will the human resource function impact on your organization? Will there be productivity? Even if you look at it only in the procurement department, won't there be collusion with suppliers, corruption? If all these are not addressed in the procurement department, let's not even go to the whole organization. Let's just go to the procurement department. My whole salary goes on medical for my children. Are we together, good people? Before we continue to the next,
Yes.
or any questions?
No.
I can't hear. Any questions?
No questions, sir.
Financially, what about on finance? Businesses are there to make money. I hope we all know that. But also, to make money, you need money. How do you finance your business? Long-term and short-term finances. How? As an organization. I'm assuming you have done financial management. Have you?
Yes.
How do businesses finance themselves? So how are businesses financed? Long and short term. Yes, please.
Through avenues like loans, savings, stuff like
Pardon?
that. Through avenues like loans, getting loans from banks, selling shares, and saving.
Good. Getting loans from the bank. What kind of loan are you going to get? Short-term loan, long-term loan. Now, to understand the impact of risk on finance, I want us to go to 2020 and what is happening in 2021 after the COVID-19. Banks were encouraged to reschedule loans with their clients. But still up to now, people are finding it hard to continue. Banks are on people's cases. Schools are being sold. I don't know whether you're aware of that. Businesses are closing. If your business was affected by COVID-19, you have no students at school, you can't service your loan. You took maize on credit. They supplied you maize. You couldn't use the maize because the students had left. It got spoiled from your warehouses or your store. How would you survive? How do you ensure you work at a minimum cost and yet you're making profit? These are all challenges that businesses are facing today. Are you going to get an overdraft? An overdraft is short term. Are you going to sell your assets? I have a friend of mine who is in tour business. The bank is on his case. They have told him, okay, now sell your assets, sell your cars. Tour company cars, those tourist cars. But he tried to sell the tourist cars, but there are no buyers because the business is closed. Tourists are not moving. Borders are closed for some countries. There is no demand. He told the fellows, how do I sell something which is not being demanded because there's no business? At what interest rate are you borrowing? Yesterday, you saw the president talking about helping the artist industry, the bar owners, whatever. We shall see. Someone is renting a studio for 1 whole year. He's not working. You think the landlord is going to wait for COVID to go? You guys at UC, you have your joints there where you go outside the university at times for enjoying your life. And they say no opening for a whole year. If you are into global sourcing, how does foreign exchange impact on your business? Have you thought about it? Exchange rate? Right now, the fuel price has gone up internationally, even in Uganda. How does that impact on logistics and transportation costs? And yet you cannot increase the price of the final good. Where are you going to go now and cut down on costs so that to make up for this increase in cost in this other area? What about your cash cycle, your credit cycle? Because if I produce, I give downstream distributors to sell to retailers, retailers sell to the final customer. How long do they take before paying me back? That credit period. Because it determines also how long I have to take to pay my upstream suppliers, the suppliers of my raw materials. For example, Benjamin, you are supplying ShopRite with tomatoes. I hope you all know tomatoes. Now, ShopRite will store your tomatoes. It's kind of a VMI thing. I hope you know VMI, vendor managed inventory. Okay? Or consignment stocking. They will store your tomatoes there on the shelf. Now, people come in, look at the tomatoes, take whatever they take, pay. ShopRite will only pay for what has been bought, not what is on the shelf. I hope you know that. So what happens when the tomatoes go bad? All this is going to impact on your financial position. So we need to know that finances impact on our organizations and they make us vulnerable as businesses. How we plan to manage that is our challenge as risk managers. Are we together, guys? Any questions before we continue to the supply chain part of it? Any questions, any experiences? People, are we there?
Yes.
This is not community worship, eh? Please. Even community worship, people sing. Can we come in, please, and be part of the discussion? Patience, say something. Humphrey, anything you want to say? Are we there, people?
Yes.
All right, I'll continue to the supply chain. How do we ensure continuity of supply from our supply chain partners? What risks come with supply chains? Delivery. You're making pancakes, kabalagala. How do you ensure that even right now in this dry period, the person who sells you those indices, those sweet bananas, doesn't disappoint you? And yet you know these things have a short shelf life. What are you going to do? What about if you're using just in time as an inventory management strategy? What's the probability that just in time can work between Mukona and Kampala, where there's traffic jam always? Look at those make or buy decisions. Do I make this or do I buy? What risks come with making and what risks come with buying? Where does the product fall in the chronologic matrix? I hope you know what I mean by the chronologic matrix. Is it leverage? Is it bottleneck? Is it non-critical, or is it strategic? What strategies do I have for the different items, the different chronologic matrix? These are the supply chain challenges. My competitive strategy, is it going to focus on agility, on differentiation, or is it going to focus on cost? You know that customer tastes and preferences keep changing today, especially if you're making innovative products that we've talked about earlier. You have to be very agile. You have to be very responsive. You want to understand the importance of responsiveness and agility in the supply chain, go and read the Kodak story. You know Kodak?
Yes.
Good. Now, if we all know Kodak, I want you guys to go and read the Kodak story, all of you, and then tomorrow evening, each one send me a 1.5-page presentation on what Kodak should have done right when it comes to risk management, supply chain risk management. What did they do wrong? What should they have done right? Okay? I'm putting it in the chat room.
So I didn't get you clearly about the question.
It's in the chat room. That is the question in the chat room, okay? I think you've seen it. So,
Yes.
how would you manage costs? You will observe that right now, the biggest differentiator is no longer price, because price of some of these goods tend to be the same. Let's look at the telecom industry today, Airtel and MTN. When it comes to calls and all that, you will find the products are similar. And yet, competition is high. How do they keep the costs at a low and yet remain competitive? Not just operational costs, but supply chain costs. How do you know what customers are looking for to enable you to manage these costs? Today in supply chains, everyone is saying outsourcing, outsourcing, outsourcing. Is outsourcing cutting costs? UCU has outsourced security to Saracen, has outsourced cleaning to that company that you see there. What risks come with outsourcing? You realize that the risk management strategy that you take on to manage risks may also make you vulnerable to other risks. As risk managers, we need to know that. Therefore, what do we need to do? Invest in effective risk management, whereby we're using three things: infrastructure, the systems in place, the people in place, and have rules and regulations to manage those risks. In so doing, we shall have systems, processes, the right people, and policies to control risks, and our organizations will remain competitive. That brings us to the end of today. Any questions, please?